500 homes have flooded, another 500 have been isolated, and about 9,500 are without power across Victoria. Torrential rain has affected regional and metropolitan areas alike, while authorities warn sodden catchments will mean weeks of flood risk. Evacuation orders are in place for the town of Rochester along the Campaspe River, north of Melbourne, the central goldfields town of Carisbrook near Maryborough, Skinner's Flat in Wedderburn and Seymour on the Goulburn River. Evacuations ordered in Victoria's flood emergency. The Maryborough River in Melbourne's northwest has been one of the most impacted areas near the city, with homes inundated with water. SES crews and boats have rescued several families in the area as residents have been told to urgently seek higher ground. The people who are blocking off the roads, I asked them about the situation and they said more than likely it's predicted to rise another 5 meters, the Boathouse Cafe manager Susan Kovacic told 7 News. Com.au. Kovacic said the Riverside Cafe is on a bit of a hill, so we sit up on top and to the banks it's literally like a 2.5 meters drop. We're trying to clear as much of the terrace that we can for when it does rise, she said. But 5 meters is a lot. We'll bring the sandbags to the front. We're got to clear the deck because of the debris and stuff, it will create more problems. SES rescues on Friday morning included a family of 3 and their dog who had sought refuge on the second story of their home. Maryborough residents near the river have been urged to evacuate immediately and move to other accommodation or the relief center on Randall Street. There is a major flood warning for Werribee River and it is likely to start to flood from 2 p.m. on Friday and peak about 6 p.m. About 70 properties will come under threat along with a local shopping strip. Werribee residents have been advised to remain vigilant and monitor the situation. The State Emergency Service has responded to more than 2,600 requests for help in 24 hours and carried out at least 200 flood rescues during the past 2 days. In Seymour, which recorded record flooding overnight peaking at about 3 a.m. at 8.26 meters, and areas between Benalla and Bottigini, residents have been told it is too late to leave. Instead, residents have been instructed to seek shelter in the highest location possible. Evacuation orders remain in place for Rochester along the Campaspe River and Carisbrook near Maryborough. About 1,000 properties in the small rural town are expected to be impacted by rising floodwaters. Strong, meter-deep fast-moving water from the dam is expected to course through Wedderburn Township via the Calder Highway, authorities said on Friday morning. People in Rochester were told to abandon homes amid rising floodwaters, with an inundation of the area expected from early Friday. The Campaspe is slated to peak in the afternoon. State Commander Josh Gamble said about 500 homes were flooded and another 500 had been isolated, with about 3,500 properties without power. On Friday, Premier Daniel Andrews announced he had spoken to Anthony Albanese about using the former Mickleham quarantine facility as a relief centre for those impacted by the floods. A government spokesperson has now confirmed the facility will be used for Victorians who require crisis accommodation, with work already begun to reopen the site for use next week. The facility will reopen with a capacity of 250 places for 6 to 8 weeks, however, actual use will depend on the emergency response and accommodation demand, the spokesperson told 7 News. Payments for those displaced by floods. Andrews announced one-off payments of $560 per adult and $280 per child for people displaced by the floods. The payments can be claimed online from 9 a.m. on Friday. There are payments of just over $2,000 for eligible families, Andrews said on Friday. It is about accommodation, food, clothing, medicine, very practical support for those who need it most. Federal Labor member for Maryborough Bill Shorten said the situation was devastating. It's really upsetting for residents in my local community, Mr. Shorten said. These are areas where I've lived for the last 30 years. The last big floods were in 1974, so for a lot of people this would be a new and devastating experience. Multiple emergency relief centers have been set up including in Bendigo, Seymour, Echuca, Wedderburn, and Maryborough. Fire rescue. Victoria firefighters responded to a weather-related incident in Greensboro after broken and low-hanging power lines impacted about 50 homes. There have been traffic delays across Victoria due to road closures. These/line trains and replacement buses were cancelled on the Shepparton, Seymour, Albury, Echuca and Swan Hill lines. The town of Seymour is facing its highest flood level since 1974. Authorities also expect Shepparton to experience its worst flooding almost 3 decades on Saturday afternoon. With Op.